2, 1, go. Coming out of the closet is not the default thing for any queer person. As a queer myself, I do not see the point of Cronaldo Lessi coming out if it means disturbing his private life. Being queer does not equate to always being comfortable to be in the public zeitgeist as a figurehead of the movement. What I'm going to do in my speech are three things. First is going to be my responses. Second is going to be on our weighing and also integrated extensions. And of course, going to be the conclusion. Few floating responses first, right? Side proposition makes the fatal flaw that coming out is the end-all be-all of being a queer person. In fact, being a silent participant is a completely valid mention to take. As Kuya Joseph suggested in his speech, being an ally does not mean they have to come out. Coming out is a personal journey and choice, and we don't want side proposition to bully them into having to come out. Not coming out does not mean you are not proud or like balimbing or a failure. It just means you have other deeply rooted and vested interests as a footballer in this case. In a perfect world, or in a Disney movie, all gay persons can come out, sing Shakira and hold hands. But as what Kuya Joseph characterized, of which side proposition had zero response, is the perverse incentive structure of the media and the toxic narratives that are likely to pounce on. The intersectionality of the queer movement suggests that there is a spectrum, an overton of windows of one's beliefs, and you can be in the closet and ally without having to come out. These are completely valid stances to take, which I'm going to expand on later. Proposition asserts these are within the interest of the actor and not nuanced to their lived reality. Right, let's take proposition at their best. If they come out now at a career high, it's entirely possible that this becomes portrayed as tokenistic, performative, and disingenuous because there is no nuance or precedent in them doing so. Again, they haven't come out in the entirety of their career. There must be a reason. There was zero explanation in terms of why they would be motivated or happy to come out, especially in their decades-long career. Sure, we can speculate that, oh, you live as a queer person your whole life, but how did that queerness really affect you if you didn't really have the urge to come out or even have any hints or even try to hide it by publicly acknowledging a girlfriend? Having no suggestion of wanting to do this, Leslie does not consent to being used as a social-political battering ram for the movement, which is likely to do more harm. First push, we just want to chill out, right? This is the weighing we're going to have against them on this idea of public liberation. First, he can be happy and successful and a successful person without having to come out publicly. Coming out of the closet publicly is something that the government must contend with, which they did, or else the info slide just doesn't matter at all in this debate. And the reason that this is important is because closeted gays aren't really barred from doing like dating life and stuff like that, right? Like, as part of the community myself, I know a lot of discreet people who has not come out of the closet, like they just told me that they were, but they're still dating, right? So what is the mech here, right? First, we should be maintain status quo, like return into the sunset and chill out and be the cool uncle. Then the moment he wants love, he can probably opt for like an organic encounter through like Pride Month stuff or a dating app, right? The direct impact here is that he might be hesitant to be found out by a fan, but usually after retirement, stars fade into the background because they have the money to do it. If Michael Jordan can fade into the background after his retirement, Cronaldo can do it as well. The likely partner of Cronaldo Lessi will be somebody who is not a fan of his. The reason this is true is for majority of celebrities, they try to avoid dating their fans because of the power dynamic that exists. Sure, some creeps here and there will be an exception to the rule, but majority of the time, it's celebrity to celebrity or celebrity to non-celebrity like who grew up together. If Lessi finds out that their boyfriend is a fan, it's likely that this will be the rarest instance as homosexuals contain a small portion of the soccer fan base. Dignity is maintained because we still acknowledge our homosexuality, we still acknowledge our queerness, we still love. Coming out of the closet necessarily means you need to announce it at some level. Closeted gays can do it as well. The impact of this is simple. We maintain the level of comfort, stability, and success as a queer person despite not coming out publicly. We do not have to be publicly pressured. This completely symmetricizes the comfort that he achieves that the government wanted. And we have the better model because of the absence of public attention, which brings me to the second weighing on the idea of like ownership and liberation of freedom. Kuya Joseph has a basic level of explanation that this is likely an emotional decision that people will assume that you had to do it. One, extreme action requires extreme reaction. Sure, there will be a level of ownership because he's released from all the speculation from social scrutiny, but do you really think that gossip and speculation have the same level of scale as an international headline? There's likely to be more pushbacks and more explicit attacks on his homosexuality. The government needs to be consistent because they also acknowledge that they're at retirement age. So why should they care about the speculations, the public approval, if they're already settled? This idea of temporary risk is something that we can concede to, but wouldn't you rather transition into your private life without having to go through this baggage? Second, coming out is consenting that you'll be one of the posters of the movement. Again, if the frame is that Cronaldo is already successful, should this freedom really be something that is achieved when he puts it all out there? Kuya Joseph already explained why Lessi doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, and if we're talking about himself, why should he come out without pondering? The government cannot just say that Lessi is able to endure all of this just because you're successful when the LGBTQIA plus community is very intentional when it comes to having representation. They will not let this slide. The prospect for Ronaldo as a footballer is too huge for them to turn down or turn away from. We can say that the queer community is likely to be supportive of you being private, but in football, where little to no gay people are known, the optics is just too big for the queer community to let this go. Alignment with internal truth does not have a needed prerequisite of public approval. We achieve freedom and ownership by refusing this optics. The reward of personal liberation is absolutely not exclusive on their side. And lastly, how does Cronaldo Lessi maintain becoming an ally? You know, as somebody who's really rich, like he can donate to LGBTQIA plus causes anonymously, funding numerous queer adjacent advocacies like sex education, Pride Month celebration programs, etc. And second, he can attend Pride Month events without really telling people that he's a homosexual. It's likely that he's able to disguise himself in the crowd because, again, the queer community is unlikely to recognize a football player at their retirement age because he hasn't come out in public. So this is a realistic take of how he's able to participate for these types of movements, even in private life. So we prove to you that when it comes to the prospect of the idea of personal liberation, the idea of having more comfort, the idea of maintaining your legacy as well as a footballer, we win on those three metrics. We're proud to oppose. Here.